They defended their people, led with courage, and stood against impossible odds, but history buried their names. Today, we bring 12 Native American heroes back to life to honor the legacy that time tried to erase. Number 1. Sitting Bull. Sitting Bull was born around 1831 near the Grand River in what is now South Dakota. From a young age, he showed courage and leadership, earning respect as a hunter, warrior, and spiritual guide of the Hunkpapa Lakota. But his true legacy began when he chose to resist U.S. expansion into Lakota lands. As treaties were broken and buffalo herds vanished, Sitting Bull refused to surrender his people's way of life. He united the Lakota, Cheyenne, and Arapaho tribes, forming a powerful alliance to defend their land. In 1876, his vision during a Sundance ceremony foretold victory against U.S. forces. That prophecy came true at the Battle of the Little Bighorn, when General Custer's troops were defeated in one of the most famous Native victories in history. Despite this success, the U.S. government responded with force. Sitting Bull and his people fled to Canada, holding out for years before hunger and cold forced them to return. Even after surrendering in 1881, Sitting Bull remained a symbol of resistance. He later toured with Buffalo Bill's Wild West show, but he never stopped speaking out for his people. In 1890, he was killed during a botched arrest just weeks before the Wounded Knee massacre. Though his life ended in tragedy, Sitting Bull's strength, wisdom, and unwavering spirit continue to inspire people across the world. Number 2. Crazy Horse. Crazy Horse was a quiet, mysterious figure, but on the battlefield he was fierce and fearless. Born around 1840, he was known for his bravery, even as a young man. Unlike other warriors, Crazy Horse painted lightning on his face, wore a feather in his hair, and avoided photographs. He believed his power came from staying unseen. He played a key role in many battles defending Lakota lands, but his most famous moment came at the Battle of the Little Bighorn. Alongside Sitting Bull and other leaders, Crazy Horse led a surprise attack that crushed Custer's forces. His tactics and courage became legendary, earning him respect from both allies and enemies. After the battle, the U.S. military intensified its campaign. Food supplies ran low, and his people suffered. Crazy Horse eventually surrendered in 1877 to protect those who still followed him. But his freedom was short-lived. Rumors and mistrust led to his arrest, and he was stabbed and killed while resisting imprisonment. Crazy Horse never signed a treaty, never gave a speech, and never sought fame. Yet he became one of the most admired warriors in American history. Number 3. Tecumsa. Tecumsa was born around 1768 in present-day Ohio, during a time of great upheaval for Native tribes. From an early age, he witnessed violent conflict as settlers moved westward and Shawnee lands were taken. He grew into a brilliant speaker and warrior, determined to unite all Native nations into one strong alliance against further U.S. expansion. Alongside his brother, the prophet Tenskwatawa, Tecumsa built a multi-tribal confederacy that stretched from the Great Lakes to the Gulf of Mexico. He traveled thousands of miles on foot and horseback, urging tribes to stand together, not as separate nations, but as one people defending a shared homeland. When war broke out between the U.S. and Britain in 1812, Tecumsa sided with the British, hoping they would help stop American expansion. He fought bravely and became a general in the British Army, leading Native warriors in several key battles. His death in 1813 at the Battle of the Thames was a devastating blow to the native cause. Though his confederacy did not survive, Tecumsa's dream of unity and resistance left a lasting legacy. He is remembered not only as a warrior, but as a visionary who saw beyond tribal lines and fought for the survival of all native peoples. Number 4. Nany Nancy Ward. Nany, known to history as Nancy Ward, was born around 1738 into the powerful Wolf clan of the Cherokee. As a teenager, she fought beside her husband in battle, and when he fell, she took up his rifle and led the Cherokee to victory. For her courage, she was given the title of Gigaw, or Beloved Woman, the highest honor a Cherokee woman could hold. As Beloved Woman, Nany held great influence. She sat in tribal councils, made important decisions, and spoke on behalf of women and warriors alike. But she became most famous for her efforts to bring peace between the Cherokee and American settlers. She often warned settlers of attacks and urged both sides to avoid bloodshed. During the American Revolution and after, Nany used her position to protect her people from harsh policies and forced removals. She believed that peace and adaptation could preserve Cherokee sovereignty. Though not all Cherokee agreed with her, she remained a powerful voice for diplomacy and wisdom. Nany died in 1822, just before the Trail of Tears began. But her legacy lives on in the stories of those who still call her a peacemaker, a leader, and one of the greatest heroines in Native American history. Number 5. Red Cloud. Red Cloud was born into the Oglala Lakota tribe in what is now Nebraska. He grew up during a time when American settlers and soldiers were beginning to push into Lakota territory. From a young age, he learned how to fight and lead, and as he grew older, he became one of the most respected war leaders of his people. But it was his strategy, not just his strength, that made him legendary. In the late 1860s, Red Cloud led a fierce resistance against the U.S. Army in what became known as Red Cloud's War. He and his warriors successfully blocked the U.S. from building forts along the Bozeman Trail, a key route through Lakota land. His victory was so complete that the U.S. government eventually abandoned the forts, one of the few times Native Americans won such a concession. Red Cloud then chose a different path. He believed that fighting couldn't go on forever, and that survival would depend on negotiation. He traveled to Washington, D.C., and fought with words instead of weapons. Though not everything he asked for was granted, he secured important promises for his people and encouraged others to adapt while holding on to their culture. He lived to be nearly 90 years old, witnessing the changing world around him. Red Cloud remains a symbol of both resistance and wisdom, a warrior who won battles, and a leader who sought peace when his people needed it most. Number 6. Sequoia. Sequoia was a Cherokee silversmith and warrior, but his greatest gift to his people wasn't made of metal or bravery. It was written language. At a time when the Cherokee people had no written form of their language, Sequoia dreamed of creating one. Many laughed at the idea, thinking it impossible, but Sequoia didn't give up. He worked for years, crafting a syllabary, a writing system where each symbol represents a syllable. By 1821, he had created 86 characters that could represent all the sounds in spoken Cherokee. Within just a few years, Cherokee people of all ages were reading and writing in their own language. It was a stunning success. Because of Sequoia's work, the Cherokee became one of the first native nations with a written language. They published books, laws, and even a newspaper, the Cherokee Phoenix. This helped them keep their culture alive, especially as outside pressure mounted. Sequoia's invention gave his people a powerful tool, and his legacy endures to this day. Even now, the Cherokee syllabary is taught and used, proof that one person's determination can change the course of history. Number 7. Geronimo. Geronimo was born into the Chiricahua Apache tribe in what is now Arizona. He grew up surrounded by strong warriors and lived a free life in the deserts and mountains of the Southwest. But everything changed in 1851 when his wife, children, and mother were killed by Mexican soldiers. From that moment on, Geronimo vowed never to stop fighting. He became one of the fiercest warriors in Apache history, leading small bands across rugged terrain in raids and escapes that baffled soldiers. Both U.S. and Mexican armies tried to capture him, but he was a master of survival, slipping through their fingers time after time. He became known for his courage, and his name was spoken with awe and fear. Even after several surrenders, Geronimo kept returning to the fight. His final surrender in 1886 marked the end of the Indian Wars in the Southwest. He spent the rest of his life as a prisoner of war, but he also became a national figure, appearing at world fairs, meeting presidents, and telling his story. Geronimo's spirit never broke. Though his life was full of loss, he never stopped standing up for his people. He became a symbol of resistance and bravery. Number 8. Chief Joseph. Chief Joseph of the Nez Perce tribe is remembered as one of the most honorable and tragic figures in Native American history. He was a leader known for his intelligence, kindness, and deep love for his homeland in the Pacific Northwest. But when the U.S. government ordered his people to move to a distant reservation, he tried to resist without bloodshed. Despite his peaceful nature, war broke out in 1877. Chief Joseph led his people on a heroic journey of over 1,000 miles in an attempt to reach safety in Canada. His goal was to keep the elders, women, and children out of harm's way, avoiding battles when possible and outsmarting U.S. troops at every turn. After months of hardship and exhaustion, just 40 miles from the Canadian border, Chief Joseph finally surrendered. His famous words, "I will fight no more forever," echo through history as a symbol of sorrow, dignity, and the heavy cost of forced relocation. Though he never regained his homeland, Chief Joseph spent the rest of his life speaking out for Native rights. He became a national voice for justice and compassion, a leader whose wisdom and heart still move people today. Number 9. Lozen. Lozen was a fierce warrior, spiritual leader, and trusted advisor to her brother, Chief Victorio of the Chiricahua Apache. From a young age, she showed incredible courage and skill in battle, earning respect among Apache warriors, something very rare for a woman at that time. But what made Lozen truly unique was her spiritual gift. She could sense the movement of enemies, often lifting her hands to the sky in prayer to receive visions that guided her people safely. When Victorio led his people on a long escape from U.S. and Mexican forces in 1879, Lozen fought beside him every step of the way. But when a pregnant Apache woman needed help crossing dangerous territory, Lozen left the battlefield to escort her across hundreds of miles, alone. She safely brought the woman to the Mescalero Apache reservation and then returned to rejoin the fight. After Victorio's death, Lozen continued resisting alongside the legendary Geronimo. She rode into battles, stole horses from enemy camps, and used her deep knowledge of the land to protect her people. Even the U.S. military recognized her as a formidable fighter. Lozen was eventually captured in 1886 and died in prison 3 years later, but her legacy as a fearless warrior and protector of her people lives on. She remains one of the greatest female heroes in Native American history, a woman who stood strong in a world of warriors. Number 10. Coochis. Coochis was one of the most respected and feared leaders of the Apache during the 19th century. He was tall, commanding, and known for his intelligence and deep sense of honor. For years he maintained peace with American settlers. But everything changed in 1861 when he was wrongly accused of kidnapping and attacked by U.S. soldiers. His family was taken and some were killed, sparking a war that would last over a decade. Furious over the betrayal, Coochis led a fierce campaign of resistance across the Arizona Territory. His warriors knew the land well, and they struck swiftly, disappearing into the mountains before soldiers could catch them. These battles became known as the Apache Wars, and Coochis was at the heart of them. Despite the bloodshed, Coochis wasn't a man who loved war. He wanted justice, not endless violence. In the early 1870s, he finally found a trustworthy ally in General Oliver Howard. The two men reached a peace agreement, and the Chiricahua were granted a reservation in their homeland, a rare victory for a native tribe at the time. Coochis died in 1874, buried in a secret mountain grave known only to his people. His leadership, honor, and fight for justice earned him a place among the most legendary Native American heroes of all time. Number 11. Blackhawk. Blackhawk was born in the Sauk tribe in what is now Illinois. He grew up hearing stories of warriors and learning the ways of his people. As a young man, he fought with the British against the Americans in the War of 1812, but his most famous role came years later when he led a desperate fight to reclaim his homeland. In 1832, Blackhawk and a group of followers crossed the Mississippi River to return to their ancestral village, only to be pursued by U.S. troops. Thus began the Blackhawk War, a short but brutal conflict. Blackhawk tried to avoid fighting, but skirmishes broke out, and his group, mostly families, was forced to flee again and again. The war ended in tragedy. Hundreds of native people were killed, and Blackhawk was captured. But when he was taken east and paraded before crowds, people were surprised, not by a savage warrior, but by a calm, wise leader who simply wanted to return home. Blackhawk died a few years later, but his story remains a symbol of courage and resistance. His fight wasn't about conquest. It was about holding on to the land, the identity, and the dignity of his people. Number 12. Buffalo Calf Road Woman. Buffalo Calf Road Woman was a Northern Cheyenne warrior who defied expectations and changed history. At a time when few women fought openly in battles, she proved that bravery knew no gender. She is best remembered for her role in two major battles that became legends on the plains. In 1876, at the Battle of the Rosebud, she saved her brother, Chief Comes in Sight, from certain death. Her daring charge through a hail of gunfire rallied the Cheyenne and their allies, turning the tide of the fight. The warriors believed her courage helped them win that day, and her name became known throughout the tribes. Just days later, Buffalo Calf Road Woman is believed to have fought at the Battle of the Little Bighorn, the same battle where General Custer was defeated. Some oral histories even say it was she who struck the blow that knocked Custer off his horse. Whether or not that's true, her presence on the battlefield was undeniable. She died just a few years later during a harsh winter after the Northern Cheyenne had been forced to flee from reservations. But her memory lives on in the stories passed down through generations, a fearless woman who stood among warriors and inspired them all. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next one.